It is 34 minutes after the hour as we continue on Daybreak Live this morning, 26 minutes before 7 a.m. Jim Heigl, the mayor of Sylacauga, joined us. Mayor, good morning and Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Good morning, Jimmy Dale. Merry Christmas to you and your viewers.
And
it's come on quickly, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I hadn't had Mayor on in a while, and going to get into some stuff this morning a lot of people are asking questions about, but I guess one of the biggest things is the cold weather headed our way.
Ooh, we're prepared. We are recap in the staff. They're ready. They're going to have the trucks, the spreaders filled up. You know, we got the spreader about several years ago, and we fill that thing up, and you just drive down there and sling it. Before, they used to have two people in the back shoveling it out. But we got that out of the way, and our bypasses and overpasses will be sanded.
I guess the biggest thing is going to be the real cold weather, not a whole lot of moisture, but the cold weather can be tough.
Prepare your piping and everything, even your vehicles. Make sure they are winterized.
I know the city of Sylacauga is also being a partner with the Critical Incident Response Network over at First Baptist. They're going to open their shelter about 7 o'clock Thursday night, I think.
They are. Mr. Ledbetter, the chaplain for the police department, he'll be addressing the public tonight.
Yeah, and
filling in all the details.
You'd be surprised at the number of homeless people we have here in this community.
Yeah, you are. They say we need a shelter, you know, but we really can't go that far right now.
Yeah.
So they are. It's amazing, you know. You don't know until you get out and look, you know, you see them. And our police department, they're well aware of them, you know, and they do have funds, you know. They try to help them, make sure they're fed, and they'll try to make every effort to make sure they got a warm place to stay.
Speaking of the police department, you know, I hear a lot of things on the street, Mayor. A lot of things about our police department being way understaffed. Can you speak to that?
6 down right now. We've got 2 in the academy. They won't be ready to come back to be on patrol until probably February or March of next year. Yes, we've been understaffed. We've been down as much as 6. We've been down as much as 8. They're having to double up. Their overtime is...
Now that's scary, Mayor.
Well, it is scary. But how can you get people to come into something like that? They've got to go through the process, and very few. We've had 2 come in. Both of them passed the test, did a beautiful job there. One of them didn't tell everything on his resume, and they had to let him go, but got the other one in there, and it just takes time.
Yeah.
And people just don't care about being a police officer on these days, you know.
Wow.
But thank God we've got a good staff down there, and Chief Johnson, he does a very good job, you know, of maintaining the schedule for all of them.
And we also, we're a little short, I understand, with the fire department.
No, fire department right now, we're going to lose. We got one going into retirement. All our fire people are permanent. We do not use temporary people anymore in the fire department. Everyone is salaried under the city. Nate Osgood's done a great job with that. Yeah,
we finalized the budget a week or so ago, or maybe a couple of weeks ago. Speak to that this morning.
Well, the budget, as you know, last year was $17,300,000-something with $111,000 surplus. This year it was $19,700,000 with about a $26,000 surplus. That just shows you how this economy's changed in 1 year. We thought we had it made. And then we came up there, insurance came up, well, we're going up 7.5%. So that's for all our employees. All that had to be taken into consideration. And then the utilities came up. The utilities came up to water, gas, electricity, sewage. And thank goodness the utilities board absorbed everything except for the electrical. They couldn't afford that. They passed that on, that's 30%. 30% increase on all departments, and everything else had to be taken into consideration. And that doesn't even count appropriations. I level funded everything. And then we had to go back and add the 30% and the 7.5% on top of each employee in each department for each employee.
Wow.
And it ate up $19 million in a heartbeat.
It sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? 19 million, but a lot of hands out there.
Well, beautiful plans just went poof. But we thought we had it, you know, but all that came and hit us. And the other departments out there, I know SAFE's got an issue with transportation. I think the council understands that now. We have to maintain SAFE. They've done a beautiful job with transportation. We got to have
There's
that.
A lot of question about that.
Well, it was. They had a federal grant there and it dropped off, but all the money comes into SAFE goes right back into the city. Yes, we'll put money up front, but we'll get it back in the long run.
Yeah, and there was question about whether SAFE should, the transportation should revert back to the city or leave it in the hands of SAFE. And, that's a no-brainer to a lot of people.
No, you don't want to do that. That's been there before. You don't need under the city with politics and all involved with it. You need to leave it right where it's at. And Margaret Morton and her staff's doing a beautiful job with it. They need to keep it right where it's at and keep it moving.
You hear people talking about, God, $25,000. That ain't a whole lot of money, but we're not broke by any means in Sylacauga.
No, we got money in the banks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got, like I mentioned earlier, we got $2 million from the hospital when they sold the hospital. Which all that money is free.
That's been drawing interest for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, ever since I came in office in 2012, I think it was, and we were able. No, it was in 2008 when we had the drop, and the economy took a big drop, and we got all our high interest rates was up 17, 18, 19%. We got to cut down to about 7 or 8, and we were able to that money, the interest off of the $2 million was going to pay for the Avondale property. But after we got to redo our bonds and all, we paid off all of Avondale property with the cut in the amount of interest that we were being charged at that time.
The city's budget is much larger than mine, but it works off the same premise,
Well, it does. All budgets work. Really, the budget it's there to give you guidance to where you need to go. And you don't want to go out there and stick your neck out too far. Sometimes you may have to step over the line just a little bit, but you got to be sure down the line that you're going to be able to cover that. And but we like to stay with the budget and stay with it or under it a little bit.
All right. The hospital, there was some question about whether or not we could help the hospital a little bit.
It was. The hospital met with them, and along with Lee Perryman and some others, and they were explaining to us their issues. And they asked me if I would make the appropriate request for appropriations for the hospital. And I said, yes, give me your paperwork, give me these facts I need. And I said, you got a right to ask just like everybody else does. So I did. I presented to the council. They wanted $500,000. With the economy the way it is, I don't think they'll be able to reach it this year.
Okay.
It's a big expense,
All right. A lot of people want to know when Publix is going to open their doors. Any idea?
Let's look at February or March. The same thing with Lloyd's. They also ran into some problems with structural issues and also equipment. And that looks like they're going to be somewhere around February after the first of the year.
From what I understand, Lloyd's has, the ownership of Lloyd's had to invest a whole lot more money than what they initially
did.
thought.
That's what I said. The building was in worse shape than they anticipated.
Yeah.
It looked good from the outside. But when you go in there and start tearing out old refrigerators, stoves, and refrigerators and all, putting new in, you wind up finding a lot of, what I say, they're not up to code. They had to be brought up to code.
One thing I haven't heard a whole lot of complaints about is our garbage pickup. That seems to be going pretty good.
Very well. Now they're going to go up 3%.
Of course.
Yeah, they're going to go up too. But don't worry about the city's going to absorb that. So that will not go to our public. But like I said, everything's going up. They had to go up to replace equipment plus replace cans that were busted and everything else. Bad thing about this cold weather, they pick up these cans as cold as it is, then things will crack. And but the city will absorb that, so the people will not have to worry about that.
What about, Mayor, and we had a big street project a couple of years back, and there's some areas in our city, though, that need some tender loving care.
We've got $2.1 million worth of paving we need to do throughout our city. These are subdivisions and some public roads and everything else. That's been on the table for several years. And with our economy the way it is, I don't know what the council's going to do, whether they're going to raise taxes or what, but we need a new fire engine. That's $800,000 to $850,000. Police department needs at least rotate at least 3 police cars each year. We need to bring our cars into where we can bring to the point where our police officers can take a car home.
How are you going to do that?
Well, it's going to take time, but I mean, it all depends on the money, But these things are in the plan. These are capital expenditures that we need to keep the city going. We got a new street sweeper coming from Schwartz out of Huntsville, and it's in Birmingham now getting the final check. And we need that bad. As you can see, the leaves and everything in our streets, all the Reed's got is a vacuum pulls behind the truck and just sucks it up and blows it in, but it doesn't hold that much. But we have to have that street sweeper to protect our storm sewers and everything else. We've got $1 million project on a storm sewer over there around Church Street is going to have to be put in a new storm sewer. That's the old one, because the old one's so full of white oak and water oak roots, they can't clean it out.
Never-ending story.
Never ending story. There's always something going wrong.
Yeah.
And we've got to get our pay rates up to, that's one thing we keep hearing day in and day out. Well, this city here, this city there, they're up to $20 an hour, $20 an hour, $19, $19.50 an hour. We got to get to that point. But I can't base all our income like other cities do. Every city's got their own form of income. Ours, thank goodness, is industry, you know, calcium carbonate. We lost the textile industry, we lost the paper industry. Thank God we had calcium carbonate to fall back on.
We rebounded nicely with that.
Very nicely. And we got an opportunity to sell the spec building. A new company coming in there looking at that. That's going to be a big plus for us. That's going to be employing a lot of people. We need housing. Housing bad. We need to go after another grant. That's a 90-10 grant, what we got a couple of years ago. We got rid of a lot of old structures, and we need to go back and try and get that again. It's not cheap to run a city.
There are whispers, Mayor, and quite candidly, not so quiet whispers about a possible tax increase in our city.
They have talked about it, but it's all talk right now. Anywhere from 1.5 to 1.75. I don't know where the council will go on this. They talked about it a couple of years ago. Personally, I've done this 3 or 4 years ago. It would have been great. We wouldn't be in the mess we're in today. Utilities Board did it about 3 or 4 years ago, and they rolled over their bonds, you know, and came out real good. That's where they get all these fiber optics over here. I think just about our whole city is covered in fiber optics except for the southeast section of the city, and the Utilities Board's done a beautiful job of that.
We also learned in recent months, I know we had a final meeting last week about the possibility of a pool and a complex. Can you speak to that this morning?
Yeah, they have. It's a steering committee. They met with Chambers King. This is the 4th time we've gone through this. The first time was 280 South out there. They got architects in there. They looked at that area. That fell through.
That's money.
That's money, and we had $10,000 they had to give back to the landowners because the contract was breached or something. I don't know. That's attorney stuff. Then they looked at Rocky Lucas when they were in there in 2013, 2014. They had architects come in and look at the Avondale up there at the Sportsplex, and using that area across there, the Arco Dairy area, the Dairyland property. And then ED&T came in here, and then they looked at the Food World building. And they 10,000 here, say, well, one suitable, another 17,000 to engineer the taking down this building. How are we going to do it? Well, we take everything down and leave the I-beams and the concrete, or else you can take it all around the ground level. And then there was looking at asbestos, which I thought that was kind of unnecessary because that building was built after all this asbestos issues was settled and gone. And of course they looked at the pool, and they said that it was unstructurally sound, it would not hold water, and there was issues that it cost $4 million. I believe that's the figure that that Brandy Robinson threw out there, about $4 million, and to fix the pool. And I signed off on the paper, said it was not service. I went to LWCF and everything. Then I found out later that that wasn't all true, you know. But anyway, yes, we spent a lot of money on this thing. Now we are Chambers King. That's 130-something thousand plus another 9,000, I think, for drawings and all, which they have presented. They last.
How much?
130,000, I think, was the original contract, and they had another 9,000 for architectural drawings or something like that. I'd have to go back and look at the paperwork, but the contract itself. But it was in that neighborhood. These are all ballpark figures, you know. Yeah. And but we got an issue. They've got to come to the Planning Commission. This city has a comprehensive plan. I appoint 7 members to that board, and I've got to vote, and they got 1 person off the city council who attends that meeting. He's got to vote. So that's 9. And they've got to come to us, come to the Planning Commission, because this comprehensive plan's got everything in this city laid out. That property, what they're looking at 21 North, is B1, Business 1, and they want to make it recreational. You got to go back and change that whole comprehensive plan to make that happen. And they need to know it. Say, well, they need to come and say, these are the areas we would like to look at. And then the Planning Commission brings out the comprehensive plan, shows all, it's got everything from the rain sewers, storm sewers, all the way up to all the buildings, electricity, the powers, everything. Everything is in that comprehensive plan, and every area is zoned as needed, you know, or whether it's residential, business, or manufacturing, or farm, you know. And but they have to come to it, and it's going to take time.
So, how do we pay for all of this stuff?
Well, you said something about, you heard they were talking about taxes. They're talking about it. I don't know what they're going to do. But all these are plans. They're making plans to move forward in the future.
So this property out here on 21, that's just a projection that they're looking at.
Yeah.
That's not something that...
Yeah, they can't say they're going to put it there
yeah.
yet until they get a report from the Planning Commission. And the Planning Commission will go over and tell them what all's involved in that. They'll show them where all the water lines, gas lines, the sewer, where the state's right-of-ways are, and all this stuff will be presented to them, and they'll make a recommendation.
I don't know
to the city council, and up to the city council can accept the recommendation.
I don't know if this is if this will be the 4th year or the 3rd year coming up, spring and summer, without a pool here.
4th.
People are real sensitive about that.
They are very sensitive. You've had Earl Lewis on here. You talked to him. Him and I were taught swimming lessons, and we lifeguard up there at the pool. And we ran that pool up there and maintained the chlorine flows and everything else. And the municipal pool over the years, you know, him and Robert Parrott and I and Charlie Water. And them boys, they had it in for me though. I still remember the teaching the lovely ladies up there in that pool. It really does. But a pool is very necessary. Like Earl said to you, a friend had called him and saved his life. He couldn't understand how he did, just been learning how to swim. Yeah. Burley Collins, there's a good opportunity that can be reopened for the children in that area. And we have to, it's not fair, you know, to take these things. They needed to be maintained and kept going, and until we got ready for community center.
So that pool now, right there across the wreck, that's kind of dead in the water?
Well, it's full of water, but I don't know. I've asked for the engineering geological surveys on what they said they ran at that wasn't serviceable, and I have yet to receive them. I don't know. I think it's important that we know. There's too many questions out there that too many few people know that we don't know. And it's just like, well, you know, I said there's 4. Actually, they were looking at putting the community center over there at the Food World building. Right. Well, now that's gone. That's on their docket now. They're looking at selling it for about $225,000.
Is there a buyer for that?
There is somebody.
Okay.
We've had 7 people look at that building.
Okay.
Tractor Supply, the warehousing, and 2 or 3 some others. There was a cabinet company that was going to be looking at making drawers over there with hardware, some kind of hardware and all. But it's going to be a big expense to put a roof on it.
Yeah. Mayor, a lot of people share the frustration of lack of progress in some particular areas. We've had great progress in some areas, but in some we have not. And with the economy the way it is, people are really touchy about, hey, you know, you keep spending money, but we're not having anything to show for it.
Yeah. Well, that's true too. It's I think we still got a long ways to go before we get this community center in the right place. I think we need to sit down and go a little bit further with it. Yeah. We're still not where we ought to be. We need to get with the Planning Commission and look at the comprehensive plan, look at the areas that are available for recreational purposes. And we
so nothing is approved before it goes through that Planning Commission.
It's got to go before the Planning Commission. We come under 1152-1 of the Alabama State Constitution, and it goes all the way up, I think it's 1152-86. It's all under the state constitution. You know, they need to go through the Planning Commission and make a recommendation. This is what we're looking at. Planning Commission can sit down, open up its comprehensive plan, and look at all these areas and advise them what the best route to go.
As the CEO of this city, the mayor of this city, obviously we're not going to have a pool in 2023.
Apparently not. I can't see it. I'd still like to see somebody look at that pool, aquatic engineer to look at it.
But we're talking more money.
Well, yes.
Anytime you have somebody to look at anything, they're not going to do it for free.
Oh, no, they're not.
Let's talk Christmas. Let's talk Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Mayor.
Merry Christmas to you, Jimmy Dale, and to you listeners.
Beautiful downtown Sylacauga, isn't it?
It is beautiful, and Laura Strickland and Coosa Pines Credit Union to think of such a beautiful parade. I'm still hearing.
Maybe the best we've ever had.
It is. They say it's the best that we ever had. Of course, I got off at 6th Street and the parade was still coming around, and it was a wonderful
You need to
parade.
be careful who you're riding with in those parades.
Well, that's the truth. I didn't know if old Nate was going to push me off that thing or not, And then they had that big Santa Claus or snowman in front of me,
Before we go, speak to the citizens of Sylacauga and surrounding area about Christmas and your thoughts.
In my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, we want to absolutely wish you a very Merry Christmas. But please remember our first responders, our police, our fire, our streets, the people that's going to be out there. They are going to be standing their post, taking care of us during this time. They will be away from their families. Also remember our military people throughout the United States, all military people serving our country throughout the world. Think about them. I spent 2 years outside this country, missed Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, and it's demoralizing. It's hard. But remember these people, because they are out there protecting our safety. They're out there protecting our country.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, Mayor.
Merry Christmas, Jimmy Dale. Merry Christmas, ladies and gentlemen.
More Daybreak coming up right after you watch this.